hides rituals that should never have reached human hands. They are whispered at midnight, written on torn scraps, or passed through forgotten villages where tradition has not yet died. What binds them is danger disguised as curiosity. They do not offer answers, only traps. To call on them is to invite something patient, hungry, and cruel. Tonight you will hear 3 rituals the living were never meant to finish. Some began in mountain villages, where blind mediums swore they could let the dead speak again. Others spread through internet forums, inviting children to summon what should remain buried. And still others took form in schools, where students treated them like jokes until something laughed back. Each ritual carries its own voice, its own price, and its own shadow. They ask simple questions, but leave you with answers you were never prepared to hear. What makes these rituals dangerous is not the act itself, but the way they linger after. A doll that moves when you are not watching. A coin that grows hotter with every question. A voice that answers with memories you never lived. They wait for the curious and the arrogant, those convinced they can play with spirits and walk away untouched. But rituals do not end when you stop. They end when they decide. Those who witnessed them rarely agree on what they saw. Some speak of dolls dripping water through empty hallways. Others claim to smell soil and rot as voices spill from mouths not their own. And many insist nothing happened at all, until nights later when footsteps followed them home. Rituals are not stories meant to scare. They are warnings carved into silence. What begins as a test of courage ends as a sentence. It does not matter if you believe. The rituals remember for you. Each word, each stitch, each coin pressed beneath your fingers becomes a doorway you cannot close. They demand participation, then refuse to leave. No prayer makes them stop. No laughter keeps them harmless. You can call it myth, superstition, or theater, but the outcome is the same. You do not finish them. They finish you. And by then, belief is irrelevant. Tonight we descend into 3 of Japan's most dangerous rituals, drawn from tradition, fear, and the arrogance of those who thought they could control what answered. Once you hear them, they will follow you the way they followed countless others. If you choose to stay, remember curiosity never forgets its debt. Subscribe to Echoes of the East, and tell us where you are watching from, if you dare, before the ritual already begins with you. In the northern reaches of Japan, where winters crush the land into silence, whispers persist of blind women who bridge to worlds. They are called Itako, mediums trained from childhood in rituals of fasting, prayer, and suffering. Their blindness is said to grant them sight beyond this world. Families bring photographs, names, and offerings. What they receive in return is not comfort, but voices pulled from places where silence should reign forever. The ceremony is slow, unnerving. The Itako sits cross-legged, her head wrapped in cloth, a string of beads clutched tightly. She mutters chants until her voice fractures, then grows sharp, almost masculine. Witnesses claim her mouth twists into shapes unnatural for her age, producing voices that should belong to the dead. Some weep at hearing lost relatives. Others freeze, realizing the words carry venom, exposing secrets the dead never spoke aloud in life. One family brought a child's toy, begging to hear their daughter once more. The Itako's voice turned high-pitched, mocking, repeating the girl's favorite phrases, but stretching them until they sounded cruel. The parents cried, but the Itako laughed with lips that were not hers. Neighbors swore the room filled with the scent of wet soil, as though something crawled upward from beneath the floorboards. What answered was not a daughter. It was a parasite imitating one. Another witness recalled asking about her deceased brother. The Itako began to whisper, then shout, recounting memories only the siblings shared. But as she listened, the woman noticed errors, events twisted, details exaggerated, a venom beneath every phrase. When she begged the spirit to stop, the Itako's head snapped backward, eyes rolling white. The chanting continued even as blood seeped from her nose. By then, everyone knew the voice did not belong to her brother. Fear does not silence the ritual, it feeds it. The more witnesses plead, the stronger the voice becomes. Those who interrupt are ignored, while the Itako's body convulses as though two forces struggle inside. Some describe seeing shadows stretch unnaturally across the walls. Others recall sudden cold, as though the building's warmth collapsed into a grave. By the end, few remember what words were spoken, only the certainty that they had been spoken by something else. Skeptics claim it is performance, a blend of theatrics and suggestion. Yet, even skeptics cannot explain why those who attend often fall ill within days. Fevers, nightmares, and hallucinations of voices calling from empty rooms follow them. Some swear the sickness lasts years, a reminder that participation left a mark. Whether true possession or elaborate trick, the effect remains. You walk away believing the dead spoke to you, and belief is often enough. The Itako themselves pay a price. Many live in isolation, avoided by neighbors who fear the shadows they attract. They wander villages with eyes covered, muttering to themselves, followed by stray dogs that never bark. Some die suddenly, bodies twisted as though seized mid-convulsion. Temples sometimes refuse burial, forcing families to cremate them in silence. If they truly carried voices from beyond, perhaps they could never rid themselves of what clung to their throats. Legends say the first Itako were trained not to summon, but to banish. Over centuries, their purpose blurred as desperation grew. Families wanted to hear loved ones again, ignoring the warnings that not all voices are true. Today, many rituals feel like performances for festivals, but in private corners of Aomori and Iwate, the older ceremonies continue. The difference is subtle. One entertains crowds, the other empties a room, leaving only silence behind. A documentary once recorded a session, but footage was destroyed after the cameraman fell ill. He insisted the tape whispered even when unplugged. Colleagues dismissed him, until one listened and swore he heard his dead mother's voice, calling his childhood name. Terrified, they burned the film. Yet ash does not silence memory. The Itako's chants still echo, passed by those who wish they had never heard them, carrying a contagion more dangerous than proof curiosity. Those who attend speak of dreams that follow. In them voices whisper from cracks in the walls, from beneath pillows, from drains in the floor. They begin softly, familiar, then twist into laughter that doesn't match. Some report waking to mouths pressed against their ears, breathing as though eager to be invited further. These dreams leave bruises on the skin, circular marks like fingers. Doctors dismiss them. The victims insist they do not belong. One woman confessed she returned repeatedly, unable to stop. Each time, the Itako's voice grew clearer, more personal, answering questions with uncanny precision. Eventually, she admitted the voice no longer waited for ceremonies. It spoke in her home, on streets, even within her own thoughts. Friends found her days later, standing at a riverbank, lips moving without sound. When they pulled her back, she whispered, "It's not my brother anymore, it's what killed him." The greatest danger lies in recognition. To hear the dead speak is to accept they are listening, and if they listen, they can answer. The boundary between comfort and intrusion vanishes the moment you believe. It is not the ritual that binds you. It is the willingness to welcome what answers. The Itako know this well. Their blindness is a curse and a gift. They cannot see what watches. Perhaps that is the only mercy. Modern Japan tries to forget them, branding them relics of superstition. Yet even today, shrines host quiet ceremonies where Itako chant over photographs, summoning voices families beg to hear. Each ritual is meant to soothe grief, but grief does not care for boundaries. It opens doors, leaving them unguarded. The Itako do not promise safety, they only promise sound, and once that sound enters your ear, you carry it wherever silence waits. If you ever stumble upon one of these ceremonies, remember, not every voice deserves to be welcomed. Some wear the mask of those you miss, waiting to step through your grief. They do not comfort, they consume. The Itako may tremble, bleed, or collapse, but what speaks through them is patient. It will find another mouth, another room, another listener willing to believe. And once you believe, the voice is already yours to keep. The ritual known as Hitori Kakurenbo, or one-man hide-and-seek, first spread through obscure Japanese forums in the early 2000s. At first glance, it looked like another urban legend disguised as a dare. But instructions were specific, ritualistic. Cut open a doll, replace its stuffing with uncooked rice, sew it with red thread, and pierce it with a needle at midnight. To skeptics, it seemed childish. To believers, it was an invitation. Participants were warned never to play alone unless prepared. Ironically, the ritual demands solitude. After preparing the doll, you must give it a name and declare aloud, "I am it," before hiding. Then begins the silence. Lights flicker, shadows shift, and water is poured into a bathtub to anchor the spirit. Witnesses claimed the air thickened instantly, as if someone unseen began breathing heavily beside them. The game of hide-and-seek had begun. Stories describe dolls appearing in places they were never left. A boy left his sewn figure in the bathroom, only to find it later sitting upright in his kitchen chair. Another returned to discover his doll drenched, as if it had crawled wet from the tub. Some claimed faint, sticky footprints trailed across the floor, leading closer each time. Skeptics mocked these tales, until they noticed the consistency. The red thread always came loose. One recording surfaced online, showing a teenager whispering instructions while hiding behind a couch. Minutes pass with nothing but static. Then the camera captures movement. The doll, previously lying flat, now upright, facing the lens. The boy gasps, muffles a scream, and scrambles into another room. The camera remains, catching only silence. When the parents reviewed the footage, the doll's stitched mouth had split open. Their son was never found. The thread lay snapped. Authorities dismissed the case, labeling it a runaway. Yet neighbors reported strange noises during those nights. Soft dragging sounds, like fabric scraping across wood. One elderly woman swore she saw a child's shadow darting between streetlights, though no children lived nearby. The doll was kept as evidence, but later went missing from police storage. What remained was the rice darkened, damp, and smelling faintly of iron, as though it had absorbed something beyond water. The ritual's danger lies in its design. Rice is believed to attract spirits, while the red thread seals them within the doll. Stabbing it with a needle releases anger, forcing the entity to move. By naming the doll, you grant it identity. By hiding, you grant it purpose. Every step ensures the spirit has reason to seek. To finish the ritual, salt and prayers must be used. Yet many forget. Few remember escaping cleanly. Those who claim survival speak of lasting side effects. Objects shift places overnight, water drips where none should, and whispers echo from drains. One girl admitted she heard tiny footsteps following her days after ending the game. She threw the doll away, only to find it again in her school locker, thread unraveled, stuffing spilling like entrails. Her classmates insisted she was cursed. Weeks later, she vanished. The locker remained locked from the inside. The internet fueled the ritual's spread, turning it from secret to sensation. Many uploaded attempts, most cutting off with static or distorted audio. Some were exposed as hoaxes, yet a few clips remain unexplained dolls, slowly turning toward the camera, untouched. Experts dismissed them as editing, but players insist the spirit recognized attention. In rural Japan, parents began warning children against touching dolls at all. Shops stopped selling certain models after rumors spread that they were frequently used for Hitori Kakurenbo. Old traditions whispered that spirits cling to dolls more easily than other objects, feeding on affection once given. To strip them and fill them with rice is to desecrate them, twisting that bond into mockery. By stabbing them, you demand retribution. The game ensures they deliver. One chilling case involved two friends playing together, hoping safety came in numbers. They hid separately, communicating with whispered laughter. Minutes later, one stopped answering. The survivor swore she heard her friend's voice calling, only distorted, as though muffled by water. She found her crouched in the closet, mouth filled with thread, eyes glassy. When authorities arrived, the doll was gone. Only damp footprints circled the house endlessly, leading nowhere, like a loop unfinished. What unsettles most is the ritual's accessibility. Anyone with rice, thread, and a doll can attempt it. No forbidden texts, no remote shrines, just household items transformed into an open invitation. And once attempted, it cannot be undone by disbelief. Spirits do not care whether you regret beginning. They only care that you started. Each stitch binds your promise. Each drop of water offers passage. Each hiding place becomes an altar. Escape is never guaranteed. Some argue the ritual is nothing but modern invention, a cautionary tale spread by forums to frighten the curious. Yet stories multiply, crossing prefectures, appearing in police notes disguised as accidents or disappearances. Legends evolve, but the core remains. The doll moves, the player vanishes. Even skeptics refuse to play, fearing the possibility of belief itself, breathing life into ritual. After all, what is a curse if not faith turned against the faithful? Japanese folklorists connect Hitori Kakurenbo to older practices of binding spirits within objects. Historically, dolls served as vessels for both prayer and curse. They absorbed misfortune, illness, or sin, later destroyed to free the burden. But in this game, destruction is incomplete. The vessel is invited to act, but never dismissed properly. What happens when the spirit finds no release? It searches for permanence, and the nearest vessel, always, is the one who called. If you ever hear the rules whispered online, remember this. No ritual spreads without reason. Those who play treat it as a test of courage, but courage does not protect you. Once the doll rises, you are no longer hiding from a toy. You are hiding from the reflection of your own invitation, stitched in red and dripping with hunger. When you call it by name, it learns yours in return. And names never die. In Japanese schools, whispers spread of a ritual called Kokkuri-san. Unlike ancient ceremonies, it requires no shrine, no priest, no forbidden relics. Just a sheet of paper marked with hiragana, yes and no, and a 10-yen coin. Students press their fingers lightly on the coin and call the spirit. Some say it is a fox, others a dog, sometimes a raccoon. Whatever answers, it never sounds like a game once the coin begins to move. The ritual spread rapidly in the 70s, popular among children eager to test courage. Teachers dismissed it until classrooms filled with stories of desks rattling, scratching in the walls, and voices echoing after questions. Skeptics claimed the coin moved from unconscious pressure, yet players swore they felt heat building under their fingertips, a sting like metal, alive, and always the sense of being watched. One group of friends asked who would marry first. The coin slid deliberately, answering with a name. Laughter filled the room until the named girl grew pale. She admitted a dream weeks earlier where an animal had stalked her bed, whispering the same name. Days later, she collapsed during class, her lips trembling as though mimicking words no one else could hear. She never returned to school. The desk remained empty, though students swore it moved. Rules demand closing the ritual properly. Players must thank Kokkuri-san, move the coin to goodbye, and burn the paper. Those who forget risk inviting the spirit to linger. A boy once walked away without ending it, joking that nothing followed. That night, his parents awoke to scratching at the walls, rhythmic, insistent, surrounding their house. In the morning, his bed was empty, sheets soaked with sweat. On his desk, the coin lay warped, edges melted inward. Legends connect Kokkuri-san to older beliefs. Fox spirits deceive, dogs guard, raccoons trick. Together, they embody mischief, punishment, and temptation. To call them is to invite judgment, disguised as play. Those who treat it lightly often receive answers too precise to dismiss. Birth dates, hidden fears, even crimes. Some insist the spirit feeds on secrets, twisting them until they return sharpened. Every question is a trade. What you ask is less important than what you surrender. One chilling account describes students playing during lunch break. They asked, "When will we die?" The coin spelled a date, weeks ahead. Nervous laughter filled the room, but the atmosphere soured. When the date arrived, one of them drowned mysteriously, despite being an excellent swimmer. Survivors swore the paper reappeared on his desk afterward, coin still in place, answering questions though no one touched it. The school burned it quietly, but rumors ensured it never ended. The most disturbing aspect is how easily disbelief turns to fear. Skeptics approach laughing, only to freeze when the coin jerks violently, propelled as if by invisible hands. Some describe hearing a low growl, others a whisper that mimics their voice. A few insist the spirit does not answer through letters, but directly, pressing into thoughts like ice water poured into the skull. Those who experience this never laugh again. They refuse to speak at all. Records link Kokkuri-san to strange illnesses. Children developed fevers, muttering in sleep about animals with glowing red eyes. Teachers banned the game, but notebooks filled with sketches of coins and paws appeared. Some clawed desks until nails broke, insisting they had to finish. Even restrained, their hands twitched as if following unseen commands. Families buried them with coins, fearing the spirit demanded company even in death. What unsettles most witnesses is the silence before the coin moves. The air thickens, ears ring, and then, without warning, the object glides smoothly as if drawn by invisible threads. Every participant swears they did not push. And once it starts, stopping becomes impossible. The questions multiply. The answers deepen. Some sessions end in tears, others in screams. But every player agrees on one thing. The coin grows hotter, branding memory into their fingertips forever. A teacher once confiscated a Kokkuri-san paper, left on a desk. That night, his family reported he screamed awake, clutching his arm, insisting something had bitten him. Marks resembling teeth covered his wrist. The next morning, the confiscated paper was gone from his drawer. Days later, the students whispered that the teacher avoided eye contact, his hands trembling when near coins. Whether punishment or paranoia, he never returned to that classroom. Neither did the game. Some folklorists argue that belief itself animates Kokkuri-san. The more players invest, the stronger it becomes. Yet belief does not explain why observers, untouched, suffer too. Parents waiting outside classrooms claim to hear faint giggles, though the children inside sit silent. Stray animals sometimes gather near schools where the ritual spreads, pacing restlessly at doors. Whether coincidence or omen, the effect lingers. The spirit does not confine itself to those who invite it directly. Even now, in abandoned schools, explorers find remnants. Yellowed papers scrawled with hiragana, coins corroded into the wood, desks arranged in circles. Some refuse to enter, swearing the sound of scratching follows them from hallway to hallway. One explorer left a camera rolling. Hours later, the coins slid alone, spelling stay. He fled, leaving his equipment behind. When others retrieved it, the paper was blank. The coin, however, was missing entirely. It has never surfaced. The danger lies not in the questions, but in forgetting to end them. Spirits crave acknowledgement, and once acknowledged, they do not release easily. Whether fox, dog, or raccoon, the form is irrelevant. It is hunger that answers, and hunger never forgives interruption. Children play, believing laughter protects them, but laughter feeds it faster. Every unclosed ritual is another leash cut, another shadow loosed. And once freed, the spirit no longer waits for invitation. If you ever find yourself tempted, remember this: the paper and coin are not toys. They are doors, disguised as childhood games, hiding consequences sharp enough to scar. Kokkuri-san is not about believing or doubting. It is about offering yourself as proof. Once the coin slides, you belong to the answer it chooses. Do not ask questions you fear answered. Do not forget to say goodbye. And never trust a silence that feels like listening. These rituals do not belong to history. They remain alive, waiting in whispers, ready to answer anyone arrogant enough to call. The Itako offer voices that should remain silent. Hitori Kakurenbo turns a child's toy into a predator. Kokkuri-san slides its coin until laughter becomes fear. What ties them together is not tradition but hunger. Once begun, they never end cleanly. You cannot forget them. They do not forget you. Curiosity always collects its debt. Japan hides many scars beneath festivals and silence. Some rituals parade proudly as culture. Others linger quietly in shadows, forbidden for good reason. To treat them as games is to misunderstand their nature. They do not entertain, they claim. Families who sought comfort, children who chased courage, and students who mocked the unknown, each learned the same lesson. Nothing summoned comes alone. Every ritual feeds on belief, and belief remains long after games are finished. Tonight's descent ends, but the echoes remain. If you listen closely, silence carries weight, as though waiting for a word to follow. The question is not whether these rituals are real, but whether you are willing to risk proving them. Curiosity feels harmless until it is answered. And once answered, you never walk away the same. Subscribe to Echoes of the East, and tell us where you are watching from, if you dare.